Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at actions. So I have a set of basic actions that I use a lot in just kind of everyday toning. Actions are very similar to presets that you see in Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. And they're actually really easy to create. So I've created a set of actions over here that I use quite a bit. So we've got some adjustment icons, some reduction of colors, sizing for social media vignette, and some printing actions just to make the process simpler. You would be surprised at how difficult sizing an image and sharpening it can be. So I've created these actions for you, and if you're interested, at the end of the video I'll give you some information on how you can download these for free on my website. So we'll just go ahead and run through one real quick. This one is called reduce red. So when you're shooting in artificial light and it's happening in this image here, you get usually an oversaturation of colors, and that is yellow and red. So if I hit reduce red, you're going to see it's reducing the red in the image. In this case, it's way too much, and that's done on purpose. And all we would need to do with this adjustment layer is go into the opacity and lower it. And we can adjust the opacity until we get the kind of right blend of the effect that we're looking for inside of this image. And if you've never used actions, this is actually the little triangle right here, actions, but you would go to window and make sure actions is selected, and then when it opens up, you will either see it like this in button mode or like this. And this is essentially the working mode. So I'm going to create a new set of actions as we do this. And then I'm going to post them on shutterbugacademy.net for anybody who wants them to download them. It's really simple. Actions show up as a .atn file. You just double click that and it should automatically load into Adobe Photoshop. And then you would see it up here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a folder. So we're going to come up here and we're going to go to New Action Set. And we will just call this Shutterbug Academy Basic Actions. And we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to do something weird because you can either do this up here in the hamburger menu or simply right here. We're going to do this and we're going to put the exact same thing, Shutterbug Academy Basic Actions. And notice I'm not going to fill out anything or do anything. We're just going to hit record. You'll see why we do this in a second. And then we're going to hit stop. We're not actually going to use that as an action. We're going to use that as a header, because if you look at the button mode here, it's sort of old school and it can be difficult to find stuff, especially if you have a whole bunch of actions. So a lot of times you can see right here I've got old school actions, and then I created all these old school actions below it. This black area is just a header to let me know what's going on. So right here, we've got this header here. This is the Shutterbug Academy basic actions that we're going to create. So we'll come in here and go back out of button mode, and we're simply just going to hit plus here, or the other way was new action. All right. And so when we create an action, we have a variety of options. First of all, we're going to name what it is. And so this first one is going to be called curves luminosity, and I will show you what this means. And we're going to save that into the basic actions. You can assign a function key and a color to these if you'd like. In this case, let's go with, so everything that I do now, it's going to record it in steps, and then it's going to let me apply it by using this action. So this first one is really super simple. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here and I'm going to open up the curve. So I'm going to hold Option on a Mac. That would be Alt on a PC. I'm going to click that. We are going to get this new layer. I'm going to call this Curves Luminosity. I'm not going to apply a color to it, but you could. I'm going to change the blending mode to luminosity and hit OK. And we're not going to actually do anything to this. I'm just going to hit OK. And actually I wanted this to be black, so I'm going to hit Command I to invert it. So it's not applying anything, and we're simply going to hit stop. What this does is, and let's go ahead and delete this, and we will go back over to button mode. And if we scroll down, you can see right here it says curves luminosity. So if I click that, it's going to create that. It says curves luminosity right here. And I can come in here and make an adjustment, and then I can apply the adjustment. So the reason I made it black is so it doesn't happen everywhere. If you do want it to happen everywhere, you could hit Command I and it would happen everywhere, or you can hit Command I and use a brush. If you want to apply the adjustment in the mask, color white, the brush, and you just kind of paint into that location, and it's going to apply that luminosity adjustment there. So essentially this is just a curves adjustment, but it's only affecting brightness, not color. So a lot of times when you make large adjustments or adjustments in Photoshop, it affects the brightness, contrast, and color. In this case, I don't want it to affect the color, because if you a lot of times make a large adjustment, it oversaturates an area. So I don't want it to do that. So in this case, that's why I create a luminosity curve. This is just a quick way for me to get that up. Now, that being said, what we're going to do is go back into this. We're going to hit plus. And for those of you that use levels, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in here. We're going to put levels, luminosity. Change that to fuchsia. Usually I make a set of actions all the same color. And we're going to hit record. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to hit levels with option. We're going to call this levels, luminosity. We're not going to give it a color, but we're going to change it to luminosity blending mode. We're going to hit OK. We're going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit Command I to invert it. And then we're going to go ahead and stop that action. All right. So now we have a curves and a levels luminosity action. So we're going to go ahead and delete these just so it doesn't become difficult for people to look at. So one of the issues you run into in photography is an oversaturation in the reds, the yellows, and kind of the blue and cyans. And so we're going to create some actions to rectify that. So we're going to come up here, we're going to hit the plus. We're going to call this one reduce yellow. You could make this one yellow, but I'm just going to keep all these the same color. I'm going to hit record, and then I'm going to come up here to that hue saturation, my option key, and I'm going to call this one reduce yellow, and we can make this yellow, and we're simply just going to hit OK. That's creating the action. We're going to go into the color yellow. I'm just going to remove about 75% of it, which is a lot. You'll see why. That doesn't matter. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to hit stop. So here's that action. If reducing that much yellow is too much, and so the cool thing is all you would need to do if that's too much reduction, and that's why I did it a lot, you just reduce the opacity of that layer and get it exactly where you want. So we'll come in here and do another one. So I'm going to click the plus. We're going to call this one reduce red. This to fuchsia, hit record. We're going to click hue saturation with option or alt held down. We're going to call this one reduce red. We change the color to red. We're going to hit OK. We're going to select red, do the same thing, take about 75 out. We're going to hit OK and stop that action. And so just like we saw before, that's probably going to be too much, and you can just dial this back to get it exactly where you want by sliding the opacity either to the right or the left to either add or subtract that reduction of red inside of your image. The last one we're going to do here is plus. We're going to call this one reduce cyan / blue. I usually do these together. We're going to change this to fuchsia. We're going to hit record. We're going to hit this with the option. We're going to call this reduce cyan / blue. This one a color as blue. Hit OK. Hit cyan. Usually an image is either a combination of cyan and blue, or just blue or just cyan. It really just kind of depends. We're going to get rid of both of them. We're going to hit OK. You can see it removed a lot of those colors. And if we want to adjust that, we could simply dial out the opacity. And in any of these actions, if it's too much, like you didn't want to remove the blue or the cyan, you could just click on the action, which is this right here, and then come up here, and I could simply adjust that to get it exactly where I wanted it. One thing about creating actions is you need to know how they work so you can go in and refine them, because they don't always work perfectly. Ooh, it looks like I forgot to hit stop. So we'll hit stop. And all right, that works. So I accidentally recorded 2 steps. We just go ahead and take that out. So that looks good. So let's go ahead and delete all this stuff. So the next action is to simply create a vignette. And just like we did with this last one, we're going to make it too strong so we can simply just dial it out. But we'll come up here. Vignette. Change this to Fuchsia. We're going to hit record. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to create a new layer here. So I'm going to hold that Alt or Option, click that plus. We're going to call this VIG vignette. We're going to change that to, we'll apply gray to this one. We're not going to change any of this stuff here. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. So that's created this kind of new layer. But I want this vignette to be stamped visible, which would be a combination of this layer and anything that would be below it. So that is Command Option Shift E or Control Alt Shift E on a PC. And boom, it creates that. Then we're going to right click and change this to a smart object. Then we're going to come up here to Filter and go down to Camera Raw Filter. They've actually got a built-in vignette that works pretty good. So we'll go to Effects. Here's Vignette. I'm just going to dial that back so it's adding a lot of vignette. You could come down here and change any of this information if you want to refine your vignette. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to hit OK. So you will see, because it's a smart object, we could double click in here and go back in and apply that. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and hit stop. All right. And if this vignette is too much, just like everything else, we can dial that out in opacity and it will reduce it. I know you can't see the vignette well on this image because it's dark, but when you run the action on a lighter toned image, you'll definitely see this. All right. And this is a really, really strong vignette, so don't be surprised if you do need to dial that in and out on the computer. And if you need to go in and refine that, you just double click on Camera Raw File because it's a smart object, and it will take you right into the vignette, and you could simply adjust it there, and then you would hit OK. I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to do that. All right, so the next set of actions that we're going to create are for saving actions. We're just going to go over one of them, but I will create a couple of different ones. And look, the process is exactly the same. So I kind of screwed this up when I did the video before, so we're going to redo it. You can actually see they're up here. So I'm going to call them something a little bit different so it doesn't have any issues with the computer. So we're going to come in here and hit plus, and we're going to call this one 2023, which is not what we want. And I'm going to call this for social media, social, and this is going to be H, meaning horizontal. This image is going to be for horizontal. I am not going to pick a color because we're actually not going to use this action, but you'll see why here in a second. So we're going to hit record. Actually, I'm going to hit stop, and stop is something you can do. We're going to come in here and just add an adjustment layer. Normally when you're creating these, you might have adjustment layers, and it makes it easier for the sharpening process because it needs to be on the image layer. So we're going to come back in here, hit that record button, and we are ready to go. So we're going to simply come up here and go to image size, and we're going to make this 2023, but it would really be 2024. And all the other stuff doesn't matter. Just that width of 2023 or whatever the dimension is you want. We're going to hit OK. Then we're going to come up here and go to Edit, Convert to Profile. And so we're going to convert these to sRGB. You can see we've already got sRGB. And right here it says Flatten Image to Preserve Appearance. We want that checked because we want to get rid of this, because when you sharpen, it needs to be on the image layer. If it was to sharpen right now, it'd sharpen this exposure layer, which wouldn't do anything. So it's just easier to flatten the image. It's going to get flattened as a JPEG anyways. So we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to come up here and go to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. And we are going to make this amount 35. We're going to use a radius of 1, always a radius of 1, and just the in-between threshold of 3 is going to be good for these kind of basic images. I'm going to hit OK. And that's literally the process. So I'm going to hit stop. So that's the first part of the action. We're going to go up here and go to Fill, Revert, and let this rescale back out so it's its original size. So this doesn't confuse people. We're just going to rotate this image. It doesn't matter which way. We just want to make it vertical so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to create a new one. We're going to do the exact same thing. So 2023, though I use 24 for the real action. And then we're going to call this social. We're going to call this one vertical because this is our vertical action. No color. We're going to hit record. And we're going to do the same thing. So image, image size. But this time you're going to put the 2023 in the height instead of the width because this is vertical. Then we're going to come in here, edit. We're going to hit stop because I need one of those little things. So we'll hit record. Then we're going to go to edit, convert to profile. We want to flatten that image and get rid of that. Hit OK. And we can just reapply the same sharpening. So I'll just click that and we're done. All right, so stop, and that action is selected. Now we need to make one more. So we're going to come up here, hit the plus, and this one is going to be called 2023 3 Social sRGB. So we know what color profile it is. And I'm going to make this one the fuchsia color, and we're going to hit record. Now you're not going to do anything but come up here to this hamburger menu at the top of the computer, and we're going to come down here into where it says insert conditional, because the computer doesn't recognize horizontal and vertical, but we can use this process to do it. So it says if the document is landscape, which is horizontal, then I want to do this social one right here. If it's not, then play the vertical one. Okay, stop. So let's go ahead and revert this back to the beginning. I'll show you in button mode what this looks like. Up here, you can see we've got the horizontal, the vertical, but the one that you want to use is this one right here. So we're going to click that and boom, it sizes it just like that. That whole long process, one simple click. So I'll create the rest of the actions, and I've already done them, so you can see down here we've got a couple different actions that are ready to go as far as sizing for the web. All right, I just wanted to quickly run through how these print actions work because I made them just a little bit differently. So you can see down here we've got one for 4x6, 5x7, 8x10, and 12x18. We'll just go ahead and try the 8x10. So I'm going to click the 8x10 print. So what happens here is I've added a stop to this, and this brings up the crop tool, and you can see it's 8x10, and right now it's horizontal. You can come in here and crop your image and then apply it, and then it will finish running through the action. If you want this to be vertical, in this case, just hit these little arrows that we see up here, flip this so it's a vertical image, and then you would crop it, hit apply, and the action will work just like we did before. So that's how you use all four of these different print actions that you see right here. Well, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any comments, you can leave those below. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day.